There are two types of people in this world, those that develop cheats and those that use cheats. Those that develop are very few and far between, whereas those that use are everywhere. Simple economics tells us that where there's scarcity, we find demand. And where there's demand, there's billions of dollars to be made. In this video, I want to talk about pay-to-cheats, aka paid hacks or P2Cs. Specifically, how to make them, how to protect yourself, and the dangers that come with making money in the industry. Game hacking can be extremely lucrative and rewarding, but it can also be dangerous. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before you can develop your pay-to-cheat and make a ton of money, you first need to develop your programming and critical thinking skills, which is exactly why I love Brilliant. Brilliant helps you excel in math, problem solving, and coding with step-by-step interactive lessons and personalized practice. They believe in learning by doing, instead of watching boring videos or reading walls of text. Brilliant's comprehensive curriculum, crafted by world-class teachers from MIT, Harvard, and Stanford, is effective for both kids and adults from the age of 10 all the way to 110 years old. If you're looking for something fun and interesting to get started with, check out their Thinking in Python course, which takes you through the basics of programming with Python in their signature interactive fashion. No walls of text and no boring videos. To learn for free on Brilliant for a full 30 days, go to brilliant.org/cazz, scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description down below. Brilliant's also giving my viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the video. The business model. Pay-to-cheat services often monetize themselves with a typical SaaS model. In other words, they offer software as a service. You pay a monthly subscription to the developers, and they grant you a time-bound license to use their software. It's hard to say how much these cost on average because it really depends on the length of the license, the game being hacked, and the provider themselves. But you could easily expect $20 to $30 per month, with some exclusive cheats reaching hundreds of dollars in the same time frame. Some providers distribute their sales as an extra security measure. Instead of having a centralized site, they set up a network of authorized resellers around the world who purchase keys in bulk and sell them to users with a small margin, thus making it more difficult to track the true owners. Running a successful pay-to-cheat depends heavily on reputation and reliability. You'll find that the good cheats offer professional storefronts with shopping carts, price listings, and even offer high-quality customer support. This keeps customers paying and develops trust, leading to generous profits for the owners. Some premium brands will also employ a scarcity model. In the industry, these are known as invite-only cheats. By gating their product behind invitations, they create artificial exclusivity in the market, allowing them to carefully control the amount of users they have, as well as the scrutiny they might get. This model also creates a secondary market, where people are willing to spend hundreds of dollars just to purchase an invite to the cheat itself. A fantastic example of this is GameSense, otherwise known as Skeet, where for a time it was extremely exclusive, massively driving up the prices for invites. The architecture. Pay-to-cheat ecosystems are complex and dynamic, and therefore, across the industry, they follow a dominant pattern. Typically, the provider will host a public web portal for account creation and management, as well as processing payments, offering support, and license activation for their users. This is complemented by a loader and/or launcher, which enforces the authentication and delivers the cheat securely to the user's device. Dynamic updates are an absolute necessity for pay-to-cheat platforms. This is because games are constantly being updated and anti-cheats are always moving their target defenses. The cheat service providers constantly need to adapt to overcome these changes on the fly to keep their businesses running. Aside from legitimate cheat providers, there are also plenty of illegitimate ones who want you to run their software on your device so that they can rat you and/or steal your credentials. These are usually marketed as free cheats and found as binaries on GitHub or other platforms. Remember, reputation is very important in this community, so always do your research before running a loader you found on the internet. Speaking of loaders, it's quintessential to obfuscate, pack, and employ various anti-analysis techniques during development. This is for two key reasons. Firstly, as a pay-to-cheat vendor, you don't want your competition to reverse engineer and crack your cheat, as that causes significant losses in terms of reputation and profit. Secondly, this also makes it harder for anti-cheats to detect your loader through simple means like automated scanning. Some common techniques include anti-VM and environmental checks to ensure the loader is not running in a suspicious sandbox designed to monitor its behavior. Anti-debugging and memory scanning is a basic but equally as important security measure to employ as well, since it stops users from easily analyzing your loader's behavior. Other common techniques include polymorphism, encryption, and other forms of obfuscation to conceal the cheat artifact and once again make static analysis more difficult. Loaders and/or cheats should also employ a heartbeat to constantly verify the user's authentication verification status, as well as confirm the user has a valid license, and so on. This doesn't only apply to cheat vendors, but pretty much any software as a service operation out there. Keep in mind that in this day and age, most games are running kernel level anti-cheat systems, and therefore most loaders will be running their very own kernel drivers and or hypervisor software to gain as much privilege as possible. This means that as a user, you're placing a lot of trust in your cheat vendor to not do anything malicious on your system. Which brings me back to reputation. Always do your research and don't trust everybody on the internet. The marketing. As with any business, marketing is extremely important because you need to acquire users and funnel them down into repeat paying customers, which is usually easier said than done. First things first, you need to get impressions, and you need a lot of them. The definition of an impression changes per platform, but you can think of it as your post being shown to a user. Keep in mind, this doesn't mean the user read it or even saw it, they could have just glanced over it quickly, but it still counts. You want to use community sites and forums like Discord and Reddit to make high quality posts about your product. Try to be unique and creative. Don't just spam messages in all caps leading to your website. Rather showcase features or discuss plans and naturally lead people to grow interested, as this will increase your chance of them signing up and eventually becoming a paid customer. YouTube is also a great avenue to get impressions. By uploading videos, trailers, feature updates and more on a dedicated channel, you can funnel a lot of viewers and grow a lot of excitement. You can also get cheating YouTubers to review and or promote your product, but sponsorships can be quite expensive and YouTubers might not want to risk their reputation on your product. Let's say your top level marketing generated roughly 100,000 impressions. Well, depending on how good your content was, you can expect anywhere from 5 to 15% of those to convert into actual users on your site. This also depends on the quality of your web portal and how natural and easy the sign up process is. Let's keep it simple and say that you got 10,000 new users from your top level marketing. These are people who are interested enough in your product to go through the effort of creating an account and becoming a part of your community. But most of them will never be paying customers. Of those new users, you could expect maybe 1,000 of them to actually convert to paying customers. But take these numbers with a grain of salt, because there are a ton of factors that affect this. For example, offering cheats to popular games will net you more users simply because more people are interested in the game you're cheating in. Another example is how the game handles bans. Imagine a free game that does not hardware ID ban. People can buy or cheat, get banned, make a new account, and keep using your software. Whereas imagine an expensive game with robust and consistent ban enforcement. Users might not want to purchase alt accounts and therefore might not want your cheat because they get less value. There are a bunch of other factors I could get into, but this isn't a marketing video, so do your own research and let's move on. The consequences. Contrary to popular belief, running a pay-to-cheat service is not exactly legal, but criminal liability does vary by jurisdiction. In the US and across Europe, pay-to-cheat vendors are routinely pursued under the following pretenses. Firstly, we have a breach in contract. When you download a game, you agree to its EULA, or End User License Agreement, as well as its TOS, Terms of Service. These are contracts wherein the user typically agrees not to cheat, and evidently, as a cheat seller, you are in breach of this contract. Furthermore, when purchasing or downloading a game, you are typically granted a license to play the game, which specifically stipulates that you may not reverse engineer or analyze the product. This is because the game itself and its code is technically protected by copyright, and by analyzing the game to make cheats, you are yet again breaching this contract. Another way that cheat vendors are persecuted is under something known as tortious interference. This refers to a legal claim where one party intentionally disrupts or hinders another party's contractual or business relationships, leading to economic harm. To put that into plain English, by selling and or developing cheats for a game, you might damage the player's experience as well as the game's reputation, leading the company to lose money, which allows them to sue you for the damages. Speaking about money, while all pay-to-cheat revenue is not necessarily related to money laundering and tax evasion, it's very common for cheat markets to adopt laundering adjacent tactics such as accepting crypto payments to decrease traceability and setting up cross-border reselling networks to get around local laws. All in all, cheat developers take on substantial criminal liability, but they only rarely get in trouble if they are making loads of money. It's not really worth it for companies to go after pay-to-cheat vendors unless they are severely affecting the business operations, and even then, it's still quite rare. Just don't hack any games in China, they take their stuff pretty seriously over there. The conclusion. In conclusion, making a successful pay-to-cheat is a very difficult and complex operation, but at the same time, it can be extremely rewarding if done correctly. If this is your goal, then I wish you the best of luck and hope your heart is in the right place. Thanks for watching the video, ladies and gents. I hope you did enjoy it and possibly learn something new about the cheating industry. Remember that a lot of developers are unfortunately very scummy, so look after yourselves when surfing the web. As always, shout out to my sexy patrons. You guys are awesome, and until next time, cheers and peace out.